morning, everybody. Good morning and welcome to our beautiful spiritual center. I'm Reverend Bonnie Rose, and here we are at our scaffolded and soon-to-be painted Grandma Spiritual Center. Let's stand up and we'll sing together our congregational song, which is Blessed Always. It's found on the far left side of your program. Join together and celebrate. And so it is, and so we let it be, as we continue to breathe deeply and become present in this full moment, in all of its beauty, in all of its grace, as we listen to the words of our sacred reading.
From Immortal Diamond by Richard Rohr. The goodness of God fills all the gaps of the universe without discrimination or preference. God is the gratuity of absolutely everything. The space in between everything is not space at all, but spirit. God is the goodness glue that holds the dark and light of things together. Basically, grace is God's first name. And last name, too. Grace is what God does to keep all things made in love and alive forever. Grace is God's official job description. Grace is not something God gives. Grace is who God is. An unexplainable goodness is at work in the universe.
And so it is. And so in the spirit of that unexplainable goodness that is at work in the universe, even if things don't always appear to be good, let us move into that place of trust, into that place of togetherness, that oneness with grace, knowing that as we are one with God, we are one with grace and with the greatness of existence. And let us breathe into the knowing, the remembrance of that, and share it with the world as we sing together, I am remembering. And we remain in the grace of awakened consciousness, remembering the truth of our existence. And let us bring that consciousness into our open-eyed state as we breathe in deeply. And then exhale, opening our eyes, loving what is as it is, and so it is.
And we continue to deepen into the mystery of what is. This looks familiar, vaguely familiar, almost unreal yet. It's too soon to feel yet. Close to my heart and yet so far away. I'm going to go back there someday. Sun rises, night falls, sometimes the sky calls. Is that a song there? And do I belong there? I've never been there, but I know the way. I'm going to go back there someday. You can just visit, but I plan to stay. I'm going to go back there someday. I'm going to go back there
Thank you. It was beautiful. Thank you. So, how many of you have been to Las Vegas? Oh, a lot. Balcony? A lot on the balcony, too, okay. Some of you know that I was in Las Vegas, not last week, but the week before last. We had our religious science denomination convention in Las Vegas. 600 ministers in Vegas. Yeah. So a minister walked into a casino and said, "Oh my goodness, this is a metaphor for my monkey mind." There are all of these flashing distractions and repetitive thoughts, putting in quarters and pushing a button and hoping for different results, over and over and over again. There is smoke. I didn't know you could smoke in Las Vegas, but there is this miasma, a cloud of smoke that hides us from the vision of our true selves. And then there are the scantily clad people. Shaking their booties and gyrating, and that's very geriatric gyrating on my part, but I think of those as the scantily clad excuses that shake themselves at me and say, "Yes, yes, watch more television, waste your time." And the most amazing thing to me about the metaphor of the mind of the casino is that, you may have noticed this, but you can't get out. You think you're leaving the casino to get some fresh air, and what do? You take a turn, and where are you again? In the casino. That is my homage to Vegas. It was quite an experience. But we're here today to talk about kind of the opposite of casino consciousness, which is beautiful in its own way. Casino consciousness is beautiful in its own way, and so is the opposite of casino consciousness. I'm here this morning to talk to you about greatness, your own personal, humble, beautiful, blessed, always greatness. The greatness that is part of who you are, that is the fabric of your being, the greatness that you came in with, and the greatness that you will always have with you. One of the tools that we're using to talk about greatness is this book, Immortal Diamond by Richard Rohr. And in case you're not familiar with Richard Rohr, he is a Franciscan mystic. He teaches non-duality really well. He has a lot of very clear ways of explaining non-dual existence. And in reading the preface of the book, he said that he wrote this book for believers and non-believers. He said he especially wrote it for the growing number of people that are in religious recovery. I know that there's some folks here that are probably in that state. One of his passions, I think, is helping people make peace with the religions of their past, which is one of my passions as well. And he said that he did not write it for people who have a very small version of God, a version of God who looks just like they do and hates all the same people they do, right? Anne Lamott says that that's how you know you've created God in your own image, if your God hates all the same people you hate, right? Richard Rohr said that he wrote this book for the Jane Fondas of the world. Why Jane Fonda? Did anybody do Jane Fonda exercise videos in the, make it burn, right? I can still hear her voice. I can still see myself in the pink spandex with the leg warmers and the Reeboks, right? And the big hair, right? Jane Fonda said, I'll read the quote, Jane Fonda said, "I feel a presence and a reverence humming within me." Can you imagine? Jane Fonda. And he wrote this book for the people that also feel a presence and a reverence for something great, a reverence for something called spirit, for something that has no name, something that's indescribable, but that we know that it's there. And he refers to that presence, that reverence, that humming as the immortal diamond, the name of the book. The words immortal diamond are from a poem by Gerard Manley Hopkins. I don't know much about his poetry, but I know he's very manly because it's his middle name. I don't know. I think I still have a little Vegas in me today. But the immortal diamond is our true self, our resurrected self, from all of the vicissitudes of living, that self that shines through. It is not our human self, it is not our divine self, but it is a beautiful alchemy of the joining of the two. It is what the Sufis call the hidden treasure that longs to be known, that is within us. The immortal diamond is, in very easy terminology, it is simply our inner greatness. As I said before, the greatness that we were born with, the greatness that we have now, and the greatness that we will have always, even when we leave this earthly plane of existence. So we have greatness, and yet many of us run from it. In Immortal Diamond, Richard Rohr, the author, says that in the original version of the Gospel of Mark, when the women came to the tomb and found that the tomb was empty, they freaked out. Doesn't say it in quite that way, but they were afraid. They were afraid. They were filled with fear and trembling. And the later verses were added to it afterwards because of that sort of unpleasant ending, that they were afraid when they saw that the tomb was empty. And he points out that that is a common response to resurrection, that we commonly run from resurrection. He writes that we are made for transcendence and endless horizons. We are made for this. We are made for transcendence and endless horizons. However, we are not at home with the resurrected side of things. We are addicted to the status quo. We hold joy, we hold our greatness lightly, and we cling to victimhood. And we do these things not because we're bad, not because we are inferior, not because we're inadequate, not because we don't have huge gratitude for the possibility of resurrection. I think that we cling to victimhood, to the past, simply because it's a habit, simply because it is uncomfortable sometimes to resurrect and to be born into something new, and simply because we are afraid. And so instead of pursuing and evolving and showing our greatness, we run from it. We sit in that mind casino place where we continue to put in the same quarters over and over again and push the same button and expect different results. Now, as you know, if you've attended this church for a while, that I very rarely use the word should. You've probably heard the phrase, you shouldn't should on yourself, which is kind of odd because I just said you shouldn't should on yourself. You should, whatever. But anyway, I'm going to give you a should. I think that we all should be more like caterpillars. I saw a cartoon recently, a graphic cartoon, where there were these two caterpillars, and they were doing their caterpillar things, and they were eating leaves and, ruining the garden and doing what caterpillars do. And then one of them looked up and saw a butterfly flying by. And he said to the other caterpillar, "Melvin, I don't get it. How do they get up in those things?" And yet, even not knowing how they get up in those things, how they transform, how they pursue that endless and broad horizon of something new, the caterpillar does what the caterpillar is called to do. The caterpillar doesn't question it. The caterpillar forms a cocoon around itself and turns to slush and eventually emerges as that beautiful, beautiful butterfly. And can you imagine if caterpillars could talk, if caterpillars had our brains and said, I'm going to turn into a butterfly. First of all, that is bizarre. And second of all, I'm going to turn into a butterfly by turning into slush first? I don't think so, right? But the caterpillar doesn't question it. The caterpillar doesn't question it. And certainly, I think that all of us are as beautiful as a caterpillar, and as intelligent as a caterpillar, and as bold as a caterpillar. We have bold transcendence in our DNA. We have bold emergence coming from us. We have greatness. And I'll tell you how I know that. It's based on the reading that Hugh did. You know, first of all, there is a voice in our head that says that we do not have greatness. This voice that says that, you know, the people who are great are, I don't know, the people who have won a Nobel Peace Prize. I haven't won a Nobel Peace Prize lately. Anybody here? No? People who have won an Academy Award. People who have good bank accounts and impressive jobs and, I don't know, well, they don't have a huge cloud of dog hair running through their home. People who are different than us, that they're the people that deserve greatness. But the truth about greatness is in that reading that Hugh did. And that greatness is just the fabric of existence. It is the air that we breathe. It is the space between our cells. You know, so recently I've been fascinated with this idea and this consciousness that seems mind-boggling to me because reality feels so solid. The stage feels so solid beneath my feet, and my body feels so solid, and despite the fact that it's changing, it does feel unchangeable. But when we think about what reality really is, it is mostly empty space. It is mostly empty space. And that in the empty space, there is this paradox of fullness. There is a fullness in the empty space. As the reading said, the God glue that holds it all together. And that God glue is called grace, that grace is God's first name and God's last name. And because we are one with God, grace is your first name and your last name. And because grace is another word for good, and it's really, really good here, I would say that grace is also another word for great. So greatness is in our very DNA. It is in our cells. It is in the spaces between our cells. It is in everything about us. You are great. We cannot escape it. You are great. So I invite you for a minute just to, if you would, just imagine your body. Imagine the empty space in your body. Just see if you can feel a sense of spaciousness in your heart, in your liver, in your lungs, and in your hair follicles, and in your fingers, and in your toes, and just feel that there is this often unrecognized spaciousness. And feel that spaciousness, and then name it grace. Name it the God glue that holds everything together. Name it the greatness of existence. And feel that. Just feel that energy within you. Doesn't matter what's going on in your life, that energy is with you always. And now what I want you to do, if you feel that energy, I want you to try and leave it behind. Try and leave it behind. Try and go over there to that side of the church where it's haunted, you know, and sorry, and leave that grace energy someplace else. You can't do it. You can't do it. Wherever you are, there you go. And everything about you, everything in your cells, in your genetic makeup, in your bodies, in your hearts, in your mind, and your being is that grace of God, is that greatness of God, and you cannot leave it behind you. It is with you always. It is with you always. Do I need to say it again? It is with you always. If grace is with us always, if grace is who we are, then why does it sometimes feel like we are the opposite of grace? Why does it feel like we are sometimes the opposite of greatness? It's because we have to do something. God so loved the world, Spirit so loved the world, that it gave us free will. Made in the image and likeness, we are able to choose to be greatness, or we are able to choose to be the opposite of greatness. Even though we really are greatness, if we are choosing to be the opposite of greatness, we don't see it. Think of it like television, okay? You know, if you think about one of those shows that's omnipresent, it used to be I Love Lucy. Now I think it's Law and Order. You know, pretty much wherever you go, Law and Order is there. I've seen Law and Order in Las Vegas, in Virginia, in New York. I didn't look for it in India, but chances are it's there as well. But you know, whatever is creating Law and Order, the satellite or whatever that is beaming that show, it's always beaming, but we can't sit in front of a blank television and say, wow, I wonder where Law and Order is. We have to actually do something. We have to tune in, and we have to tune to the right channel. And the same thing is true for our greatness. Our greatness is always flowing through us. It is always moving around us in the atmosphere. It is as real as anything else in this world, but we have to choose it. We have to tune into it. The best way I know to tune into our greatness is, this is borrowed from the work of Abraham Hicks, is ask, believe, and receive. Ask for your greatness to be revealed to you. What does my greatness look like in this moment? What is my greatest response to this situation? What is my greatest way of being right here and right now? And then believe the answer that you get. Believe the answer that you get. If it is loving, if it harms no one, believe in it. And then receive it by turning it into action. Earlier this week, I believe it was Tuesday, I was in a super sour mood. I was really cranky, and I was getting ready to think about a talk title, and I had a feeling it was going to be about greatness, and I was like, how can you talk about greatness when you are so freaking cranky? I was feeling inadequate. And then, let me know if you do this too. Sometimes I feel inadequate about being inadequate. I feel I'm inadequate at being inadequate, because I was saying to myself, what is wrong with you? We just had this great annual meeting for the center, and everything's going really well, and we're painting the church after 40 years. We're finally getting it done, and life is good, the relationship is good, the dogs are good, your health is good, everything is good. Why are you so cranky? You shouldn't be cranky. You should know better, Reverend Bonnie. And so knowing that I was getting ready to speak about greatness, I decided to practice what I preach and ask and believe and receive. And so I took my dogs out. I chauffeur them all over Ventura County so that we can hike together. And I took them to one of the mountains that we hike on. And I sat in the car before hiking, and I said a prayer. And I said, God, I'm in a super bad mood. We're speaking to the internal God and the external God, because there is no other, it's all one. God, I am in a super bad mood, and I'm going to hike up that mountain. And because I believe in you, and I believe in your indwelling presence within me, and I also believe in the prophet Jack LaLanne, who said, every motion leads to positive emotion. By the time I get back, I want to be in a more positive place. I want to know my greatness. I want to have a new belief about this thing that is particularly tweaking me right now. And I want an action step. I want something that I can do. And so I hiked up that mountain. And you know how it is. Your first mile or so, you're like, well, this isn't working. This isn't working. I don't have an answer. This isn't working. God was busy doing something else. It's not working. And then forget about it. I just forgot about it. And lo and behold, on the way back down, by the time I got to my car, I felt wonderful. I had a new belief, and I had some action steps. I asked for one. I got 3 action steps that I could take to anchor this in, to anchor this new belief in, to make the word flesh to dwell into my life. And that's the thing. I'm not going to share with you my action steps or the whole situation about what it was about, because I can't share it. But what the part that I want you to hear is that sometimes the action steps, we will try and take those away from ourselves as well. We will try and diminish that, saying that that's not going to fix anything, that's not very important, that's not very much. But think about that caterpillar. Think about the caterpillar's action steps. The caterpillar goes into a cocoon. It spins a cocoon around itself, and then it turns itself into slush. It doesn't make any sense. If you get something from Spirit, just trust that it's from Spirit. As I said before, if it doesn't hurt anybody, if it's a gesture of love to yourself or somebody else, if it's an action of love to yourself or somebody else, then just go ahead and trust that that is the voice of God revealing itself unto you. Trust that voice of God, because it is part of who you are. Your guidance is powerful, your guidance is strong, and your guidance is present and always available. But you have to turn on the TV. You have to ask for it. You don't have to literally turn on the TV. Don't get me wrong there. You have to ask for it. You have to ask for it, and you have to believe that it is real, and then you have to receive it by making it into an action step in your life. And so that's that. Are you willing to believe that you have greatness within you? Good. Okay, good. Are you willing to believe that greatness is in the empty spaces in your cells, and it is in your cells, and it is in your divine DNA? Okay, good. I like this. It's got cause and effect here. Are you willing to do something about that greatness? Asking Spirit, what is my greatness to be revealed? What is my greatness to show to myself and show to the world? What is it that I am to believe in about myself? And what is it that I am about to receive? And what is it that I am about to do? Are you willing to do all of that? Yes. Well, good, because if you are willing to do that, if a small group of committed people are willing to be great together, just think of the impact that we can have on the world. Just think of the power of intention that is right here in this beautiful, scaffolded, dim room with all of this spiritual energy, with all of this greatness, all of this collective greatness. Because if I have greatness, it means that everybody has greatness. And as we start seeing our own greatness, we start to open up and see the greatness in everything. And then the world becomes great because it already is. It is up to us to be the revealers of truth. You have that power, you have that goodness, you have that greatness, because greatness is your name. Let's know that together, and let us pray. And so I turn within and trust and know that power and that presence that has spoken through my heart this morning, from my heart to your heart, that there has been a synergy that has happened here where we have joined together in community to lift each other up, to know the spiritual truth of our existence. Right here and right now, together we know that there is one perfect, holy life, and that life is the life of spirit. That life is the energy, the life force that animates everything. That life we call God, we call higher power, we call love, we call spirit. That life is all there is. There is nothing else. And because that life is all there is, I am one with that life right here and right now. That I am a wave in that ocean, and that ocean is in me. And that as I speak in the first person, I know the spiritual truth for myself, but I use the sacred I am, knowing that there is only one of us here on the planet Earth. And so I say the sacred I am to bless the people sitting here, to bless myself, to bless the people that we hold in our hearts, but also to reach around the world and bless the entire world with this consciousness of greatness, with this consciousness of humble joy and grace. Right now, I know the truth of I am. I am is the name for spirit, the name for all of us. I am is healed. I am is whole. I am is perfect. I am is complete. I am is abundant. I am is generous. I am is great. I am is joyful. I am is peaceful. And because this is all true about the I am presence of God, I call it forth into awareness for the entire world, that the world is filled with grace and greatness and abundance and peace and joy and well-being and health. I bless this sacred time together. I bless this word, for I know that it has power. I bless the transformation that I know has occurred through our collective consciousness, through our intention to be together and work so sweetly and so diligently on freeing ourselves from past limitations and moving into a greater consciousness of joy. I am so grateful for this spiritual center that draws us to its loving arms. I am so grateful for everyone here today and for everyone who is not here. I bless this teaching and all of its goodness as I bless all paths to God, churches, temples, mosques, ashrams. I bless atheists and fundamentalists, and I know that everyone, believer, non-believer, religious, recovering, whatever, everybody is blessed and a blessing because we are all one with this goodness known as God. And so I am just filled with gratitude and humbled by this truth. And with that heart of gracefulness, I say thank you, Spirit, thank you, God, and I release these words into the mystery. And together we say, and so it is.
Look, look, look to the rainbow. There's a rainbow round my shoulder and a sky of blue above. Somewhere over the rainbow. Why are there so many songs about rainbows? What's on the other side? Rainbows are visions, but only illusions, and rainbows have nothing to hide. So we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I know they're wrong, wait and see. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. Who said that every wish would be heard and answered when wished on the morning star? Well, somebody thought of it, and someone believed it. Look what it's done so far. And what's so amazing that keeps us stargazing? And what do we think we might see? I think we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me.